Good afternoon and welcome back to live coverage of the Chad Daybell trial. It is day 10 in the afternoon. We're waiting for them to come back into court. So as I have been waiting for court to come back, I watched Lauren Matthias's Lunchtime Live. Lauren Matthias is with Hidden True Crime. Great channel. She's been covering this case along with her husband, who's a forensic psychologist, for since the beginning of this case. So she's incredibly passionate about it, and I appreciate that about her. And during her Lunchtime Live, Lauren went on a righteous rant about the body shaming of Tammy Daybell, and also about how the prosecution isn't being strong enough in its case about Tammy Daybell. And I have to say I agree with her. So I'll show parts of that Lunchtime Live that she did for any of you who didn't get to see it. It was rather satisfying to hear Lauren call Chad a potato. And she made some really good points. And I think what it really brought to the head for me is this. Again, why the hell are we focusing on Tammy's body shape when her cause of death is asphyxia by smothering? Her body shape has nothing to do with her death. It was great. Why? And this is a very common defense tactic, okay? Very common defense tactic to start throwing up a bunch of confusion and chaos into the conversation, getting people distracted from the main focus of the conversation, allowing people to get way off course in their thinking by bringing up all kinds of facts that, and honestly, Pryor is running out full entire narratives without being checked by this particular prosecutor. Now, I believe when a particular prosecutor is assigned to a particular case and they're the one that's going to be examining and cross-examining the witness, they're the one that has to be, it can't be anybody else doing the objections and, interacting with the judge. It has to be that prosecutor. And this prosecutor is not being aggressive at all in stopping the flow of these narratives that Pryor likes to put out there about Tammy Daybell and about this whole case. Before I forget, please remember to hit the thumbs up as you come in. So I guess I'm failing to understand why it's even a line of inquiry about whether she was ill or not.
All right, Mr. Bailiff, we can
when
please
we know
have
her
the
cause
jurors
of
return
death.
to the courtroom.
And the other thing that struck me about Lauren's Lunchtime Live is she talked about in the last trial, at Lori Daybell's trial, seeing the autopsy photos, the crimes, not the autopsy photos, but the crime scene photos of Tammy Daybell. She described an incredibly sad, tragic scene of Tammy Daybell laying catty corner on her bed with the mattress askew. And she was wearing her her prayer garments. And that is a thing with the LDS church. When you're, when you're devout and religious, you wear prayer garments, undergarments under your clothes, on your person at all times, basically, unless you're bathing. So she was wearing her prayer garments. And Lauren said that what she saw in those crime scene photos was a fit woman, a fit, otherwise healthy woman, other than the fact that she was dead. And it's it's incredibly insulting to have, especially when we know the cause of death was asphyxiation. She didn't self-asphyxiate, right? She didn't break her own hyoid bone. She didn't create the bruises. Lauren also talked about seeing the bruises on Tammy, and she said that they were deep and traumatic.
Thank you. Please be seated.
So it was helpful context.
Okay, we're back on the record on CR
And appropriate anger.
21-1623, State of Idaho versus Chad Guy Daybell. We just concluded the lunch recess. The jurors are all properly seated and accounted for. We just completed a witness before the lunch break, so I believe the state will be calling another witness at this time. Who's going to be calling that witness?
I will, Your Honor. The state will call Detective Bruce Mattingly.
You can call your witness. Thank you, Ms. Blake.
Okay, so this is a detective, Bruce Mattingly. I personally hope that the defense watched Lauren's Lunchtime Live.
Will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Doubt they have time to watch things, but maybe they try to get a sense of things on social media in between breaks or in between court session.
Thanks.
All right, now that the witness has been sworn, let me just inquire before we start with direct. Detective Mattingly, since this trial has been broadcast, have you reviewed either in person or on the broadcast any of the trial testimony that's taken place since the case started?
No,
Okay, have you discussed with anyone else the substance of their testimony?
no.
Okay, thanks for that. Ms. Blake, if you'd like to inquire, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Mattingly, would you please spell your name for the record?
Last is Mattingly, Mattingly.
Where are you currently employed?
Fremont County, Idaho Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been employed with them?
I'm going on my 23rd year.
What is your current title and or position?
Current title is Detective Sergeant for over detectives.
How long have you held that position?
I've been a detective for the last 7 years.
Have you held other positions then within the Fremont County Sheriff's Office?
I have. I've worked in the jail, worked on patrol, and as a resource officer.
Do you have any specialized training in order to be a law enforcement officer?
I do. I graduated from the Post Academy and I earned my basic, intermediate, advanced, and master's certificates.
Were you working in Fremont County on October 19th of 2019?
I was.
Were you on shift that day?
No, I was not.
Did you end up receiving a call from someone about an unattended death?
I did.
Who called you?
That was Deputy Allie Greenhall.
Do you know why she ended up reaching out to you?
She reached out to me because she could not get a hold of the on-call detective at the moment.
And when we talk about an unattended death, can you explain to the jury what that is? for purposes of law enforcement?
A unattended death is any death, whether it's natural, self-inflicted, or otherwise accidental, that has gone on other than one that's not being attended to by a physician.
So if a physician is not present when someone passes away, you may respond out to an unattended death.
That is correct.
At the time in Fremont County, as a detective, did you respond out every time there was an unattended death?
No,
When would you respond out as a detective?
Welcome back, Chopper.
depending on age, circumstances, possible signs of reasons for death, any obvious wounds or anything that might throw a flag up to whoever was on shift or taking the call.
And when you talk about whoever was on shift or taking the call, what position would that individual hold within the sheriff's office?
That would be a patrolman.
And was Deputy Greenalch a patrol officer at the time?
Yes, she was.
When she reached out to you, did you end up speaking with her on October 19th?
I did.
Did you learn who the decedent was?
Yes.
And who was that?
Tamara or Tammy Daybell.
Had you ever heard that name before?
If I had, I couldn't recall at that time.
Had you ever heard the name Chad Daybell at that point in time?
No, I had not.
When you received the call, did you end up asking questions of the deputy?
I did.
Do you recall what some of the inquiries you made were?
Wanted to know what she was seeing. And she described the scene to me and the state of Tammy and what it looked like, along with who found her and who else was on the scene.
At that time, did Deputy Greenalch report anything suspicious to you?
Nothing was reported, no.
Did you provide any direction to Deputy Greenalch as far as what she should do?
I did. I requested of her to take a lot of photos, and my exact wording was to have her take a shit ton of photos.
Did you request she do anything else that you recall?
To talk with the coroner when she got on scene and discuss whether or not to do autopsy or retrieve blood.
And from your understanding, who makes the determination as to whether or not to have an autopsy performed?
Final decision comes down to the coroner.
So that is not a decision ultimately up to law enforcement.
No, it is not.
When you spoke with Deputy Greenalch, did she mention to you anything about pink foam or blood sputum coming from Miss Daybell's mouth?
No, she did not.
How many unattended deaths have you responded out to approximately?
Probably 80 or more.
And back in 2019, would that number have been a little less?
Yes.
Out of those unattended deaths, have you ever responded out to one where you saw the foam or the sputum?
Judge, I'm going to object to relevance.
Overruled.
I had not.
If you were told that, would that have impacted your decision on not responding out?
Yes,
And would you have responded out?
I would have.
Did you do anything else after you received that call from Deputy Greenalch?
I did.
And what did you do?
I called Lieutenant Joe Powell and gave him a update on the call Ally was on, knowing he was a lot closer than I was. And if somebody was going to be responding, he would be the most likely or the quickest one to get there.
And did you share with him the details that you had learned from Deputy Greenalch?
I had.
And again, based on the information you were provided from the deputy, a decision was made not to respond out.
Correct.
But it sounds like since then you'd learned additional information regarding the scene. Is that fair?
Yes,
Such as the pink foam.
correct.
Do you know who the on-call detective was that night?
I do.
And who was that?
That was Detective Vincent Kayakamanu.
At some point, did you learn whether or not Deputy Greenalch also was able to get in touch with him.
She was able to, yes.
So initially, is it fair to say that on October 19th of 2019, outside of the initial response from the deputy, there was not an investigation launched into Tammy's death?
Correct.
At some point in time, did you become involved in an investigation into Tammy Daybell's death?
I did.
Do you recall approximately when that would have been?
Myself, I started about mid-December of 2019.
Do you know when Fremont County Sheriff's Office became involved?
Right at the end of October or the very first of November,
And that would be of 2019.
2019.
At the time you became involved in the investigation into Tammy's death, were you aware of any other related investigations that were ongoing?
I was.
What were those investigations?
So there were quite a few agencies involved for some different reasons. Rexburg Police Department and the FBI were looking for JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan. In Gilbert, Arizona, they were investigating the attempted shooting of Brandon Boudreaux, and in Chandler, they were doing an investigation into the shooting of Charles Vallow.
And we talked about on October 19th, you had never heard of Tammy or Chad Daybell that you could recall. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Had you ever heard the name back on October 19th? Had you heard of JJ Vallow?
No,
Had you heard of Tylee Ryan?
no,
Had you heard of Lori Vallow?
no,
Alex Cox?
none,
Had you heard of Charles Vallow?
no.
So you learned of these individuals later when you became involved in the investigation. Is that fair?
That would be correct.
And would it be fair to say that it was a joint investigation?
It was, yes.
Was your focus in regards to the investigation on the death of Tammy Daybell?
It was.
Were there specific areas of the investigation that you personally focused on?
Correct. Yes, there were.
And specifically, did you look into Tammy's health?
I did.
What were some of the things you looked at in relation to Tammy's health?
So one of the things we looked at in the beginning was medical records that we were able to acquire through Seasons Medical and Teton Medical and Walmart Pharmacy.
And in talking about those medical records, you listed 3 different places. Do you know why the records were obtained from Teton and Seasons?
Those were the places that we could find that she had been to when we did our background on the prescription monitoring program through Idaho. It showed she had some prescriptions from those medical facilities. So we were able to get the records from those.
And are you personally the one that received those records?
No, I was not.
At some point, did you review those medical records?
I did.
And we talked about how you located those. And actually, I'm going to withdraw that and back up. When you reviewed those medical records, was there any indication to you in your review of health issues related to Tammy Daybell?
There were just some general health issues. She had been prescribed tramadol for some wrist pain. And then she was also prescribed fluoxetine for managing depression.
At some point, as part of your investigation, did you review statements that had been provided by Chad Daybell to law enforcement and the coroner?
I had, yes.
And were those the statements that were provided on October 19th of 2019?
Yes, they were.
When you looked at those statements, do you recall some of the things Chad had indicated in relation to Tammy's health?
Yes.
What were some of those things?
Some of them were reported as being dizzy, uh, I believe fainting, slowing down during classes. And
When you looked at the medical records, did you see any indication or reference to Tammy having any dizziness or dizziness spells?
no, I did not.
Did you see any indication of seizure or seizure-like activity being reported?
None.
Did you see any indication that would regarding low blood pressure?
No,
Did you see any indication that would reference or explain a slowdown in activity?
I did not.
When you looked at those statements from Chad, um, did you actually review the report from the deputy on scene?
I did.
And did you learn who else was on scene or there when the initial deputy arrived?
Yes.
And who else was in the residence?
Garth Daybell.
In those reports, did you ever see Garth, any indication from Garth that he had concerns about his mother's health?
No,
Did you ever see any indication from Chad regarding Tammy having a prior history of anemia?
no,
Did you ever see any indication that Chad had reported he was concerned because of a history of heart conditions in Tammy's family?
none.
In reviewing those reports, did you see any statements made by Emma Daybell at the time of her mother's passing?
Yes, I believe her statement was that she said her mom had been slowing down in one of the fitness classes.
Did you ever get to talk to Emma Daybell?
No, I did not.
Did you make attempts
Yes,
and she was unwilling to speak with you?
that is correct.
His family was very uncooperative with police.
When we talk about the medical records and how you located those, did Chad Daybell ever tell you about any other medical providers? Or did you learn if he told anyone about any other medical providers in law enforcement?
No, there is no other mentions.
Did anyone in his family, any of his children ever provide you information regarding other medical providers to look at?
No, they did not.
Through your investigation, did you learn whether or not Tammy Daybell had some life insurance policies?
Yeah, I did.
What did you learn in regards to that?
I learned that she had two life insurance policies. One was through Primerica and the other one was through LifeMap.
And in relation to those insurance policies, through the investigation, are you aware if some documents were obtained from specifically looking at LifeMap?
Yes,
Did you review those responsive documents from LifeMap?
I did.
Do you recall reviewing a form titled Beneficiary Statement?
Yes,
And Your Honor, by stipulation, I believe LifeMap has already been admitted, but I have what's been marked as States Exhibit 152, which is the beneficiary form just referenced, or the beneficiary statement.
And are you referring to both the beneficiary statement and the admitted exhibit?
This is just the beneficiary statement that's been marked as 152.
Okay, and that would be a new unadmitted exhibit at this time?
Correct.
Okay,
It's just part of a stipulated to exhibit, but only one part of it, so it's been marked separately.
all right. And are you moving to admit that at this time?
I would be moving for admission.
Any objection to exhibit 152 being admitted?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, exhibit 152 is admitted.
And Your Honor, if I can, I have a courtesy copy for the court and then the actual exhibit. If I can have the exhibit handed to the witness.
Thank you. Yes.
And if you look at that, Detective Mattingly, is that a accurate copy of the beneficiary statement you reviewed?
yes,
And Your Honor, I am going to ask to publish this. I'd be publishing off the Elmo.
Okay. You're permitted to do that.
Do you want the exhibit published? I have a copy, but would you like the actual exhibit published?
Yes, please.
And Detective, I think there may be a laser pointer up there. If that's beneficial as we look at this.
Could you pull that down for a second and we'll have a quick sidebar?
Is that Lindsay Blake? I'm not sure if that's Lindsay. You may be right. Anyway. We should maybe we should develop a depends necessity meter. Yeah, that is a cool nail color. I was noticing that, Tess Mac. It was actually cool. She clearly knew that her hands would be shown on many streaming channels. Okay. Yeah, that is.
Redacted the personal identifier information off of that before publishing. So you can continue, Ms. Blake. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Hey, Delene, yes, we need a depends necessity meter. Yes, she is put together.
And Detective, you indicated you recognize this form.
Yes.
And actually, I'm going to move it up. At the bottom of the form, can you see who signed this? Or not at the very bottom, but can you see who filled this out?
Chad Daybell.
Oh, falsification.
And actually also, do you see the date that he signed this?
Do I see falsification coming?
It'll be 10/30/2019.
And again, Tammy was pronounced dead on October 19th of 2019. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that our depends necessity meter, the pissomatic, Patricia? I love it.
And then if we go back to the top.
Judge,
Yes.
could, I don't know what's going on, but I'm seeing motion in the jury pool.
Is your monitor not working?
Uh-oh.
Oh, we got a monitor not working. Thanks for,
Looks like
somebody's-
maybe none of them are.
okay.
Oh, monitors in the courtroom not
See if we
working.
can get that sorted out. Thank you.
Man, I was hoping there wasn't like some medical event in the jury. My God, that would have been horrible. Worried me. But since it's the monitors, I'm glad he called it out. They need to see these monitors. I'm wondering if this document, if Chad falsified this document, see how close Chad and Fryer are,
I think that might have got.
whispering
Still no-
sweet nothings into each
Mm.
other's ears.
We're going to have a tech issue with that. I don't think we can resolve that quickly. For now, I'm going to suggest we keep moving where the jurors can still see that up there. And I'll note also you will be provided this exhibit for your deliberations if you need to reference it back.
Detective Mattingly, when we look at this form, we've already indicated it was filled out by Chad Daybell, correct?
Correct.
And on there, there's a designation about when the health of the deceased first became impaired. Do you see that under the medical information?
I do. That'll be on the left.
What was the date that Chad Daybell wrote in there?
October 18th, 2019.
So the day before Tammy died is when he indicated her health became impaired?
Wow.
And I guess let me back up there. The day before Tammy was declared deceased.
He's
he'd
telling on
indicated her health
himself.
had started to have changes.
Yes.
Can you also see the last date that she attended work?
I'll be on the right side. The date indicated that she last worked was on October 18th, 2019.
So she worked that day.
And then under there, there's a section attending physicians. Can you read into the record what Chad wrote under physician name?
Under the physician name, he wrote none. She died in her sleep.
Wow.
So on this particular form, Chad Daybell didn't indicate that she was seeing any medical provider.
Correct.
Oh my gosh, really, Patricia?
Detective Mattingly, did anything on that beneficiaries form support the statements Chad Daybell previously gave to law enforcement?
No.
So his testimony is that, oh, she was always sick and she would never see a doctor.
What else, if anything, did you do in relation to looking into Tammy's health?
I also got a search warrant from Fitbit.
And why did you end up requesting a search warrant from Fitbit?
As we were reviewing the crime scene photos, on a nightstand by Tammy's side of the bed was a Fitbit. And knowing the information that could possibly be on Fitbit, we requested a search warrant. Mhm.
Did you receive responsive documents from Fitbit?
We did.
And did you yourself review those?
I did.
And Your Honor, I have what's been marked as States Exhibit 108. It is an affidavit of records from the custodian from Fitbit. I believe this is also a stipulated to exhibit pursuant to that, but I do have that affidavit for the court and would move for its admission.
All right, Exhibit 108's been offered. Is there any objection?
Judge, it was a stipulated agreement to the parties that this information would be allowed.
All right, then without objection, Exhibit 108 is admitted.
Yep, that Fitbit, that's data. That data knows a lot more about her health than he does. And it was with her
And
all the
Detective
time.
Mattingly, in looking at that, have you seen that document before?
Yes, I have.
And you reviewed the responsive documents that that's referencing?
Yes.
Based on your review of those documents, was there quite a bit of information?
Yes, there was.
And backing up a little bit, what is it that made you get a search warrant to Fitbit or to request documents from them?
So Fitbit, in reviewing what they had to offer, we were looking for heart rate and sleep patterns and times that people are asleep, along with their activity. The reason we were looking for those is to hopefully narrow down the exact time of death or a closer period to do so.
And did you actually locate a Fitbit at the Daybell residence?
No, we did not.
How did you come to determine that Tammy Daybell may have worn a Fitbit?
So we found a picture of the Fitbit from the scene photos that Allie had taken. And then from there, we also looked into her Facebook account, which had several pictures where you could see her wearing a Fitbit.
Hey,
And as
Hippie.
part of your review of that Fitbit data, did you prepare an exhibit for today?
Yes,
Do you believe that that exhibit would aid in your testimony?
yes, it would.
Do you believe it would aid the jurors in understanding the evidence?
Absolutely.
Your Honor, I have what's been marked as States Exhibit 108A, and I would move for its admission.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
Exhibit 108A is admitted.
Yeah, good
And
question, Tessa.
Similarly, Judge, this is actually going to be a jump drive, but I do have a print off as a courtesy.
Okay. Are you going to be publishing this, Ms. Blake?
Yes, Your Honor.
I think we might have tech available to come in here quickly and potentially get the jurors' monitors reconnected. Okay, they're on their way. Let's take a real quick, just stand up break and maybe the jurors can be excused to the hallway for a minute. And I'm hoping this will just be quick, but we'll see if we can get those monitors working again.
All right, please.
Let's check the body language. So there's a lot of conversation going on between Chad and Pryor. I know that you see Chad is extremely involved in his defense. So it's not hard to believe that he might have fed Pryor that kind of thinking about Tammy's body, which is disgusting, considering his typical weight when he's not on jail food. He looks worried to me. He looks like a guy who's worried but is trying not to look worried. Right? Isn't that what he looks like? Hey, he's worried, but he's trying to look super cool and chill. He's trying to keep that Lori Vallow makeover. And, they should be aware of what this Fitbit data will say, because it was in the previous trial. He's like, I'm chill. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Everything's totally cool. And they turned off the cameras, so maybe they decided that it's going to take longer than they thought.
Okay, that's okay. Okay, okay, right? Okay, right? Okay, right? Right? Okay, okay. Okay.
I like Chat in the shadows too. All right. So while they're deciding to take a break and turn off the cameras, I'm going to show you part of Lauren Matthias's lunchtime live, because from an emotional perspective, it was on point. It was on point. Okay. I agree with her take on this.
Her lungs were full of the red foam, which is blood. He's actually being argumentative. He's writing a narrative. And what is making me really angry, I'm going to be honest, because I'm feeling angry and I'm just going to share. That's the beauty of a lunch live. I can't even regroup before I do these. This is me before I go home and drink some water. I'm really frustrated with the prosecution. I'm wondering where their oomph is. I'm wondering where their fight is for Tammy Daybell. Maybe Wixom's just a terrible public speaker, but give us something. Where's the passion? I don't know. Or just how about an objection when John Pryor is arguing and setting a narrative? Every time the prosecution threw in an objection, it was sustained by the judge when it comes to John Pryor being argumentative. And John Pryor didn't even argue. He's like, okay. I'll lean back and I'll stop. John Pryor knows what he's doing too. He's just waiting for the prosecution to object.
Yep.
And I don't know. I'm frustrated. I'm really frustrated. The evidence is solid. The evidence is so good, but they are letting, in my opinion, John Pryor just have at it in the courtroom. They're like, go for it, dude. Set your narrative. Yell. He was treating Brenda Dye like she was the murderer. Like she broke.
That was one of the most important parts. He was treating that coroner like she was the murderer, like it was her fault that Tammy Daybell's body had to be exhumed. So he called it digging up her body. So I'm appreciating this, her level of frustration here very much.
the law. Like, she should be sent to jail, and nobody objected. They did finally, and the judge sustained it as quickly as they said objection. But it is maddening for me to watch. And this is what I've been feeling. And I just want you to know that John came out, my husband John, and he was watching, and he validated everything that I'd been feeling. And it was so frustrating. So I was already upset about that. I was already angry about that. And let me remind everyone again,
True.
to
Yes.
where I'm coming from. I have seen the death photos of Tammy Daybell. I wish I could say I hadn't, but I have seen them. And I think it's really important right now to bear witness to the fact that I have seen those, because I need to tell you that what I saw was traumatic, and that Tammy was crisscross on her bed with the mattress halfway off, with pink foam running out of her mouth. She was in her sacred religious garments. At least it was either the top or the bottom, a pajama top or bottom on the other. I can't remember which is which. And she, I just want to say this, is thin and fit, Tammy Daybell. I wish that she could have had that privacy and that she deserved, and the dignity she deserved of not being like that on her.
That's the other thing that bothers me. By all accounts, this woman was a good woman. A good, decent, law-abiding, mother of 5 woman. And for her to have to now be displayed in death in a trial because her fucking husband had to go out and find a thinner arm piece is absolutely disgusting. That's why we're here. And I still regard Tammy Daybell with dignity, but I'm sure she was here. I don't know for sure. I don't know her. But who would want their dead body to be on display like that? Especially a member of the LDS church. Very private. The body is sacred. You cover it with prayer garments. So the more I think about how off-putting and how off-base that line of questioning was about her body, the more angry I get.
Her marital bed in her home. But unfortunately, someone took her life. And the jury and the gallery last year saw these photos, and I saw them. And I saw just how fit she is and was at the time of her death. So John Pryor comes along, and let me remind you that this defense is put on. I tell you how involved Chad is in his defense. I tell you, Chad Daybell is there with John Pryor telling him everything. We know that John Pryor's fat. Okay, I'm going to say, I don't mean to disparage anyone, John Pryor, but let me just lay it out for you. And you know what? I don't judge John Pryor because of that. I've never brought that up. But you know what? Gloves are off. We know that. It's a fact if we're going to look at the evidence.
So Lauren, I love when Lauren's like, hey, look, this is a fact. John Pryor is fat. It's a fact that he's fat. And I understand why she's bringing it up here, because for him to even bring up the notion of Tammy Daybell being fat with what the jury and all these witnesses have now seen, it's absurd.
So John Pryor gets up after talking to Chad, his potato client, and this is the exact quote. He says to the woman who's explaining that Tammy Daybell is an incredible clogger, that she is in shape, that she is fit. And John Pryor gets up and he says, now, I don't want to, here's the exact quote, I don't want to disparage anybody, but would you describe Tammy's figure as being a body of someone who is extremely fit?
that quote, the potato client and his lawyer. I don't mean to disparage anybody, but would you describe her body as being something fit? So I would imagine that the jury was as turned off as we are about this.
Oh, and when you start with, I don't mean to disparage anyone, you know that he's about to disparage someone. That's the same as our wonderful Southern women saying, I don't mean to be rude, but, bless your heart. We know what that means when you start a
Bless
sentence
your
with, I don't mean
heart.
to disparage anyone. It means he's about to disparage someone. And then he goes on to say, but would you describe Tammy's figure
It's more like, bless your heart.
as a body of someone who is extremely fit? Well, first off, she is, because I witnessed Tammy the day she died. And she is extremely fit. In clothes she probably wishes no one would see her in, let alone be murdered in.
Exactly.
And so she is fit and she is thin. And for Chad to sit there, and let me tell you something else that I know. Heather Daybell told me and us that Chad Daybell himself complained of Tammy gaining weight, that she had gained weight. This was
See, I didn't know that. I believe it because he ran off and got a, thin Mrs. Texas, and that's what Lauren is about to say here. But the absolute the repulsiveness of this.
was a thin woman. And you know what? I'm sure she fluctuated like we all do. Oh, I fluctuate. You know what's happened to me? Every day, by the way, I'm just going to use this for a little bit. Every day I get really mean comments saying how I've gotten fillers or Botox or my face looks different.
Okay, I want to say this to anybody who's listening right now. If you're one of those people who make comments about the way people look when they go on camera, please listen to what Lauren has to say here. It's so fucking unnecessary. It's so low. And especially if you're a woman going after a woman, we get enough shit as it is. Just trying to get by day to day, being judged how we look, whether we're aging, all this stuff. Please listen to this.
Or what am I doing? Or I must be getting plastic surgery on a sidebar. Guess what? I've lost 20 pounds this year. My brother's in a coma. My mother-in-law died, and my mother is essentially in hospice.
That's horrible. I used to end my videos on this channel that we're on right now. I made pre-recorded videos, and I would end a lot of my videos saying, you have no idea what people are going through in their private lives. She just said 3 major things about what's going on in her life. She's bringing content to you. And then for people to sit there and be like, you look different, you're Botox, whatever, is weak. And it's exactly why I rail against social media.
So, you know what? We all fluctuate. Life. You marry someone who loves you for you. You marry someone where when you're 20 or 30 pounds bigger, you still love each other and you don't judge and you're going through a time in your life. Our bodies, as I always say, they are not ornaments, they are tools and they go up and down. I don't know Tammy's life, and we don't even need to assess it, but she was a thin, fit woman and I have never seen her looking otherwise. Her husband, he has the nickname Potato and Slug, I think, for a reason.
Yeah.
With jailhouse food, he's lost a little bit of weight, I think. But do not body shame our Tammy Daybell after what you did to her. And then to have that publicly shame her, you know exactly what kind of husband Chad Daybell was.
Yep.
Here's some more from him. Then we get to the high fitness exercise class. I want to tell you right now, I could never do a high fitness exercise class. Do you know what those are? Burpees, high jumps. It's intense. There's a reason why it's called high intense fitness. So next witness, Pryor keeps going. Pryor keeps going. Hey, so how would you, so this is Pryor. Hey, so how would you evaluate if you were able to make a determination? Would you say that Tammy Daybell was very fit? Witness, yes. Pryor, so she had low body fat. She had a petite figure.
That really got to me. And the answer by the witness on the stand was good. But it shows the absolute ignorance, the one-dimensional thinking, the superficial bullshit that women have to go through. Oh, so she's not curvy and fit. She whatever.
Is that what you're telling me? Witness. Well, you don't have to have a low body fat or petite figure to be highly fit.
High
But let me
definition.
just say, by the way, she was fit. What I have observed is that she had the stamina from the time she started to the fall that she passed. She had a stamina to be able to complete those rigorous workouts. What they're trying to do with her body is disgusting to me.
Yeah.
She was murdered.
Yep.
Her death certificate says, or her death, cause of death says suffocation by asphyxiation.
This is the type of rage also that I have felt for Shanann Watts and the way people have disparaged her. I've done videos about this. The way people have disparaged Shanann Watts after her death. I know Shanann Watts may not be totally likable, or, you know, and then she had characteristics about her that weren't super likable, but to make money making fun of her after death is absolutely fucking abhorrent. And that's what's happening here with Tammy Daybell by the defense. The defense lawyer for her husband. So if Chad Daybell is so distraught and innocent in the death of his wife, why isn't he protecting her after death? Why?
This is a man who was allegedly crying yesterday. Chad Daybell allegedly crying yesterday, listening to his 911 call saying his wife of 30 years of 5 children, who birthed him 5 children, went through 5 pregnancies, was dead. And now we're here today and he's allowing his defense attorney to size up her body mass to judge.
Exactly. Give her some dignity. If she just died and you're distraught about it, but then went and got married and there were kids found in your backyard, okay, take all that away. She died and you're distraught about it. Why are you feeding that kind of line of talk to your defense attorney and allowing her to be disparaged like that?
Judge her, to get the witnesses to say, yeah, she was chubby. Really? If you want to know who Chad Daybell is and what kind of husband he was, look no further. And he feels good about this defense. Trust me. He's solid with this defense. Chad Daybell's like, yeah,
He's happy.
my wife that that was murdered, she wasn't all that.
Right.
She wasn't that fit,
Right.
let alone that she's doing burpees and clogging. Oh, we also learned that the high fitness class, which I could never do, that the high fitness class, we actually went from Zumba to the high fitness class. This might be one of the most fit people I've ever heard of. And she's almost 50 years old. I can't do that in my 40s. I couldn't do it in my 30s. In fact, I joke, maybe I should try to start, going on a walk around the block again.
I will admit that I'm not in that kind of shape anymore. I was in that kind of shape many years ago. I was in that kind of shape. And let me tell you, it's not different. I mean, it's not easy to be in that kind of shape. It takes commitment. It takes time. Oh, Patricia, then yeah, you have that commonality there. I'm sorry to hear that.
It's been a rough year. I'm working on it. My health is something I need to work on. But if you wonder about those tears yesterday
Hey, Rhodes.
at court, look no further to how they're treating Tammy today. That they're going to focus.
So she's saying the reports are that, or she's saying people said that Chad was crying in court yesterday. I say he probably had Visine in his pocket and was pouring tears on. He's such a fucking phony.
On her body. This is a man that we know cheated on her. He's not even denying that in this court case. Chad Daybell is not denying that he cheated on Tammy during this trial. We know that. He's like, yeah, with this hot.
Exactly. The entire affair is stipulated to. The entire affair is stipulated to. It is so outrageous for the man who is probably responsible for her murder to allow this to happen. He was married to her for so long. It was like 28 years.
Hot blonde, Mrs. Texas. Stop calling her Miss Texas. It was Mrs. Texas, which anyone can do. I could go become Mrs. Nevada right now if I wanted to. Although I don't have a turquoise bikini. So
that cracked me up.
So this is a man who cheated on his beautiful wife, his stunning wife with 5 children, who ran the publishing company, who worked full-time as a librarian, who gave the family insurance, who ran the house, who he chastised when she wanted to get away and play a video game on her phone, who had depression and anxiety. We wonder why. And they're getting together, John Pryor and Chad Daybell are getting together and saying, you know what, we should really let people know that she wasn't up to par in how she was with her body. That she did not look extremely fit. I mean, and maybe this is why I had to cheat with her. He is showing zero remorse. He's doing the opposite by doing this. I'm so angry. I'm so angry. I am going to take off. Yeah, and let's not forget that menopause is something every woman goes through, and anemia is probably something the majority of women deal with at one point in their life. Right? Right. And to the people, by the way, thank you to someone who said on the chat, Lauren, I love that you haven't gotten ready for the day today and you're still going live at lunch. I don't care. Yeah, you're right. Like, but you know what? Women can't win. I'll just say that women can't win. I look like this and people are like, why don't you get ready a little bit more? Why don't you show some care? I get all dolled up and I put my lipstick on, or I, get my lash extensions and I get my Botox, because who doesn't love Botox? Yeah, I get it. And then
see, she's not necessarily talking about the case there, but I wanted to keep playing to have you hear her say that. It is so freaking unnecessary to make disparaging comments about people's looks. Okay? It just is absolutely ridiculous. It shows your weakness. It shows your inability to carry an argument or be a decent human being. And you also have no idea what's going on in a person's life when you're saying those things to them. So that's why I don't allow, or I ask people not to disparage people's looks in my chat. And I very, very much appreciate that you respect that.
Shame on me for caring about how I look. Women can't win. So I just think, and now we have a woman who's been murdered who's been murdered, who they're talking about as being murdered, and they're going to body shame her in court. Her husband that cheated on her. So can we just as women in I just for Tammy Daybell, if nobody else, as women, we need to be kinder to one another. Whatever we choose to do, Botox or not, hair blown out or not, eyelash extensions or not, lipstick or not, our bodies are tools that I am so grateful for. They're not objects to be judged.
Mic drop, and now we return back to court. Thank you for that, Lauren Matthias. I will put her link in the chat in a moment. In case you don't know her channel, it's called Hidden True Crime.
All right, please.
Exactly, Mel S. In Truth Junkie, I thought she was naturally beautiful. I mean, I think she was naturally beautiful. I seriously.
Here's our president got for you. Art.
I think
Thank
she's
you.
a
Please be seated.
naturally beautiful woman. I really, really do. How dare he? Shame. Shame.
Okay, we're back on the record on CR 22211623. Completed our mid-afternoon recess. Ms. Blake, if you'd like to continue with direct, you may. I'll remind the witness you're still under oath.
Yes, Your Honor.
And thank you, Your Honor. I think where the state had left off is we were asking to publish, I believe it's Exhibit 108A.
And you may do that.
Y'all, I'll tell you, I'm afraid of Botox. My mom had some pretty traumatic things happen to her when she was alive with plastic surgery and stuff. So I have a
And Detective Mattingly, we were talking about the
continue in
Fitbit
chat.
information that you received. On this first slide here, can we talk a little bit about what we're seeing? What information did this provide you?
So this provided the Fitbit account for Tammy Daybell. And we looked at trying to verify the account as Tammy's. We were able to use that or do that by using her email, tammy.daybell@gmail.com. And we also used her date of birth that was inputted along with the listed friends that was on her Fitbit site, which were three of her children, Emma, Leah, and Seth.
And that information is not showing on this slide, but was additional information provided through Fitbit.
Yes.
And then on this, we see a user created. Do you see that date on there?
On the user create, the second
Yes.
one from the top?
Yes.
Yes.
What did that indicate to you?
That was when the account was created.
And then if we look down a little bit, there's a paired date. I think it's the second from the bottom. And that is a different date than the top one, correct?
Yes, it is.
What did the paired date indicate to you?
To me, that indicates the most recent device that was paired with Fitbit.
So Tammy may have had an account before, but received a new device.
She may have had a different device and got a new device. Yes,
So when she got the new device, that would create a different paired date.
yes,
And were you able to see at the bottom there, the last sync date?
yes. The last sync date is 10/20/2019 at 2029.
And again, Tammy Daybell was pronounced dead on October 19th of 2019.
Yes, the day before this.
So the last sync date was the day after her passing.
Correct.
And this Fitbit device itself was never recovered.
It was not.
Outside of looking to assign it, who this device belonged to, and you'd also talked about you were looking to try to find information regarding the heart rate. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So we're looking for the heart rate to determine a better exact time or a closer time that Tammy passed away.
And were you able to get information regarding the heart rate from the Fitbit return?
No, we were not. The device, as it's listed up there, is a Alta device, which I learned is their base model. It'll show the heart rate as it's going on. You can sit there and look and see the heart rate, but it does not record with Fitbit.
Then I think one of the other things you indicated you wanted to look at was possibly sleep patterns or any sleep data that was recorded.
Yes.
What were you able to determine in relation to the sleep data?
The sleep data was very sparse from day to day or month to month. Like it would, for an example, this may not be accurate, but it might show on the 17th that she slept for an hour and a half. On another day, it might show 20 minutes, but on most days, it didn't record any sleep patterns.
Did that lead you to believe that she did not routinely wear it at night?
That's what it led me to believe, yes.
So ultimately, were you able to gain much information outside of learning that she didn't wear it at night?
Beyond that, that was all I could figure out.
And then what were some of the other things that you looked at in relation to the Fitbit data?
So the other things that were provided were the step counts from day to day, month to month for the year.
And if we look at this next slide, can you talk about what we're seeing here?
So these are the steps per month that was recorded by Fitbit when Tammy wore her device.
Sounds good, Great Dane Mom.
And when we see it starting with October and goes down to January and then a grand total steps, was this January of 2019 through October of 2019?
Yes,
So it's going in the opposite order.
correct.
When you reviewed this, did you make any determination with regard to those steps in relation to your investigation?
So when I was reviewing the steps, the numbers to me looked fairly big, but I didn't know what that meant as far as activity. Was it above average, normal, or below? I wasn't sure. So looking at those numbers, I was able to also research via the internet and found out the CDC recommended guidelines were recommended to have at least 10,000 steps per day. And these were the amount of steps that she took for those months.
And out of those months, was she generally above average?
Out of all the months, generally, she was above average. There were a few months that she was not.
And the months that she was not above average, was she close to the average?
Yes, she was.
Any indication to you that there were months that she severely slowed down in activity?
Nothing that was severely slowed down, no.
And when we look at that last month of October, again, Tammy was pronounced dead on October 19th in the early morning hours. Is that correct?
Yes,
So that is not the full month.
that is not a full month.
From your review of things, did it appear that she was on track to be above average for the month of October of 2019?
Yes,
Did you look at any additional things in relation to Tammy's health? Outside of the Fitbit?
Mm,
And maybe I'll back up. Did you conduct any interviews with anyone that knew Tammy?
yes, I did.
Did you conduct interviews with friends and family of Tammy?
Yes,
And through those interviews, did you learn anything that would support the statements made by Chad Daybell on October 19th of 2019 regarding Tammy's health?
no.
Generally, what did you learn through your investigation regarding Tammy's health?
Found that she was reported as being very active, a go-getter.
Ms. Blake.
When you conducted the interviews, did you interview multiple of Tammy's friends or coworkers?
I did.
Did you interview some family members?
Yes,
Out of everyone you interviewed, was there any indication that Tammy's health was slowing down?
none.
Was there any indication that Tammy had
That's
seizures?
important.
None.
Any indication Tammy had low blood pressure?
No.
Any indication Tammy had fainting spells?
No.
This
So
is
from all the
important.
interviews you conducted, anything to support the statements made by Chad Daybell on October 19th of 2019?
There is none.
As part of your investigation, we talked about some life insurance policies that Tammy had. And we've gone over the life map a little bit. And I believe you already testified, but there was another life insurance policy.
Yes, there was.
And what was that one?
Primerica?
And Your Honor, I have what's been marked as States Exhibit 122. It's my understanding that this is being admitted by stipulation, and it contains the business record certification.
All right, Exhibit 122 has been offered. Is there any objection? All right, it'll be reviewed by council.
And I will indicate there's a copy for counsel, the court, and a courtesy copy for Your Honor.
Thank you.
I think that was important testimony that this investigator is talking to never received an indication of bad health or seizures or fainting spells and blah 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 from anyone he interviewed. So this is actually setting up for when the defense starts to call Chad's kids and they start to try to talk about her health. And, I wonder how her children feel about the fact
And
that
Detective
their
Mattingly,
father
I'll just
allowed
have
her
you
to be
look
body
through
shamed.
those pages. And do those appear to be an accurate depiction of documents you reviewed?
They are.
And in relation to the life insurance policies, were you able to determine the total amount of life insurance on Tammy Daybell?
Yes.
What was the total amount of coverage?
So on the Primerica insurance, it was 300,000.
And do you recall in relation to Life Map what the total was?
130,000.
And when you looked at those policies on the Primerica, was Chad also an insured?
He was.
What about the Life Map? Was Chad also an insured? Only Tammy?
Only Tammy.
Who was Tammy's beneficiary for the Life Map?
Chad Daybell.
Who was Tammy's beneficiary for Primerica?
Chad Daybell.
Through the investigation, were you able to determine if that life insurance was ever paid out?
Yes.
And what did you learn?
I learned both of them had been paid out
And who were they paid to?
to Chad Daybell.
I have no further questions at this time.
All right, thank you, Ms. Blake.
All right, brace yourselves
I
for
I
more.
guess I maybe do just need to clarify, was that last exhibit admitted?
I don't think we actually got that admitted on the record, so you reviewed it. Is there any objection to it being admitted? We've now discussed.
I just don't know if we officially put that in the record, so I would move for its admission.
Thank you, Ms. Blake. It is admitted now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be prepared for more rights and okay and okay. It's like the way he says right or okay is an indication of how he thinks the person on the stand
Good
should answer.
afternoon.
Let's try that again. Good afternoon, detectives.
There you go. That sounds great. Thank you. Good afternoon.
You mentioned that you had reached out to speak to the family members, the immediately family members, and you know who those are, right?
Yes,
You know about Emma,
I
right?
do.
What are the dates and times that you tried to reach out to Emma to talk to her about this case and the Fitbit and all of that?
I'd have to go back and look. I couldn't tell you that
You have
exactly.
notes to go back and look that could refresh your recollection?
I might, yeah.
Okay, those at the prosecutor's table?
Yes, they are.
With the court's permission, could I allow the detective to refresh his recollection?
Yes.
See how Emma keeps getting name dropped? I feel that, he could have said any other kids' names, but Emma appears to be an important witness for Pryor. And if I recall correctly,
Your Honor, could I ask for that last question to be repeated back?
Go ahead.
oh,
Could I have the one before that?
we're not in on the joke. Oh, she read
Thank
the
you.
question before the one. For sure,
And it'll be the one before that, I think, too.
Chad's kids have been groomed. The Morphew girls were groomed.
Thank you.
There was some trolling being done right after the kids were found. One of Chad's kids, and I think it was Emma, was actually trolling where they were doing the
I don't have those dates.
makeshift
sorry?
I don't have
memorials.
those dates.
Oh, you don't have any dates in your notebook reflecting that you tried to speak with Emma Murray?
No,
Do you have any recordings or any body cams or anything that would help you in determining whether you actually ever did talk to Emma Murray?
Yes, those were recorded.
Those were recorded?
Was recorded, yes.
Attempts to talk to Emma Murray?
Yes,
Okay, but
Huh?
you don't know the times.
I don't.
You don't know the frequencies. The
No.
frequency with which you talked to her, how many times?
I talked to her one time.
Do you know what time that was?
It would have been in the afternoon after school.
Yeah, what month was that?
No, that was so long ago, I can't tell you an exact month.
Okay. You approached her after school?
I did.
Okay. Did she try to talk to you?
No,
And that was recorded, you said?
yes,
And how was that recorded? By body cam or an audio?
audio.
And you still have possession of that audio?
Yes, we do.
Let's move on to Garth.
Uh,
How many times did you try to talk to Garth?
I was not assigned to talk to Garth.
Okay, so you never spoke to Garth
That
about
one I
any of
did
these.
not.
You didn't talk to him about this Fitbit or anything else, right?
No,
Okay. And you're the one who was the responsibility to do the research and the investigation on this Fitbit, right?
yes,
Okay. Okay. And as far as the insurance is concerned on their mother and Chad, that area was within your exclusive purview as well. Is that correct?
we shared that.
With who?
That would be with some of the FBI to review the numbers.
Okay, but essentially you were the contact guy and the initial guy to look into it. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
Mhm.
So you didn't talk to Garth. What about Joe Murray?
no, that he refused as well.
Okay, he refused? When did you try to talk to him?
I did not.
Okay,
We split those assignments up.
okay. Okay, so Emma Murray is Chad's daughter, right?
Correct.
And Joe Murray is married to Emma, right?
Yes,
Okay, and you know Joe Murray because you went and the family you're talking about, you talked to Ed and Charlene Murray, right?
I don't know if I've ever met Joe, but I have.
I
met
didn't ask you
Ed.
that. I asked you whether you talked to Ed and Charlene Murray
That one, yes, I have talked to them.
and you interviewed them, right?
I did.
So when you're talking to the prosecutor about contacting the family to discuss this, really what you're talking about is the Emma's in-laws, right?
In addition to, yes,
In addition to who else in the family?
talked with Sam or Tammy's sister, Sam,
Okay,
and her husband, Jason.
okay. They didn't live in proximity to Chad, right? They didn't live within close proximity of
Close
Chad.
proximity? No, they did not.
Okay. And you're aware that Emma lived kitty corner from Chad's house, right?
At the time, yes. Mhm.
You're also aware that Emma and Tammy had a very, very close relationship, right?
I've heard that, yes.
Right. And Joe lives kitty corner with his wife Emma, directly kitty corner from Chad's house as well. Right?
Correct.
Okay. And you're also aware the other person you didn't talk to was Garth. And Garth actually lived with Chad and Tammy for a significant amount of time. You remember that?
I do.
You didn't talk to Garth though, right?
No,
Okay. And then Chad's other child, Seth. Did you ever talk to Seth?
no, I did not.
Okay. Did you ever talk to Chad's daughter, Leah?
No,
Did you ever talk to Chad's youngest son? Youngest son, Mark.
no.
Okay.
redirect is going to have to clean this up.
But the last three, Garth, Seth, Leah, and Mark, you didn't even reach out to try to talk to them, did you?
I did not. That was for
Okay.
somebody else to do.
Okay. But nobody else reached out to talk to him either. Are you aware of that?
No, I believe they did.
Okay. I guess we'll see then, right? So the
Argumentative.
interesting thing I noted was that on the map, I think the MapQuest insurance, it talked about the last known health issue, right? Remember that when the prosecutor brought that up with you?
I do.
Right, and he put down October 18th, right?
Yes,
Right, and you were aware by reviewing Officer Greenall's report that that was the night that Chad talked about Tammy throwing up and having cough fits, right?
Yes,
So that would have been the last known health issue that she would have had the night before she passed away, right?
Objection, Your
lame.
Honor, this misstates the evidence.
Sustained.
You're aware that Chad had to take care of Tammy in the middle of the night because she was having fits and throwing up the night before she passed away, right? Officer?
pardon me. That's what I had heard, yes.
Okay, all right. Now, you reviewed the medical reports, correct, of Tammy Daybell?
I did,
And those were pretty sparse reports, right? Teton was only a couple of pages, right?
yes,
Right. And on Teton, the first page, and the jury will have a chance to look at that, it talked about Tammy's anemia, right?
as a past history, yes.
Right.
Mm.
And it didn't show anything in the future that Tammy's anemia was ever cured or resolved. You never found any information about that, did you?
None was disclosed as being
Right.
resolved. It was just listed as past, meaning to me, it's done, it's over.
Well, you don't know if it's done or over. Are you a doctor?
I am not.
All right. Do you know whether anemia could actually be cured or not?
Through an online search, it says, yes, it can be.
Okay. But it takes a certain amount of medication, it takes a certain amount of treatment, takes a certain amount of prescription drugs and a series of treatment to at least stabilize it. That's what you read, stabilize it, right?
No, I didn't read that about stabilizing.
Well, the question is, where's that medical history that she treated it and cured it?
I don't have that.
Well, you don't have it because it doesn't exist, right? Correct?
I don't know if it exists or not. We just don't have that.
Okay. But what you do have is that Tammy had a habit of not wanting to go to the doctors to get treatment for anything, right?
Objection, Your Honor, states facts not in evidence.
Sustained.
And who does?
Are you aware that Tammy did not like to go to doctors and didn't like to get treatment for various medical maladies?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Overruled.
You can answer that, sir.
Would you repeat the question, please?
Tammy didn't like to go to the doctor, right?
Correct.
Okay. And at the time that she was discovered to be dead, are you aware of all the herbal and medicinal medicines that were in her cabinet at that time?
Yes,
She was doing a lot of self-treatment with oils and herbs. Do you recall that?
I do.
Okay. Okay. She was also taking Prozac as a result of that, right? A result of some depression, excuse me.
Objection, Your Honor, misstates the evidence.
Sustained.
Were you aware that she was taking fluoxetine?
I have difficulty with that as well. Fluoxetine.
Fluoxetine, thank you.
Yes,
I'll say it wrong 10 more times and everybody's watching me say that, right? Fluoxetine. You were aware she was taking that.
yes,
Generic form of Prozac.
yes.
And that was for depression. And in addition to taking the fluoxetine, she was also self-treating with essential oils, with herbs and a variety of other remedies, self-help remedies. You're aware of that as well, right?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
I'm asking if he's aware of it, Judge.
Overruled.
Are you aware of it?
Yes,
Okay. And you're also aware that at the time that Chad was interviewed, he was sobbing, he was crying, and he was emotional, right?
I heard that.
Yeah. And at the time that he was still able to say, listen, she had fainting spells, she had dizziness, she had all of those conditions that she described in Officer Greenall's report, correct?
Yes,
Now, your wife dies and you discover her because she falls out of the bed. You call 911 and then police officers start interviewing him.
Objection, Your Honor, that's a narrative the state would move to strike.
Sustained.
Thank you, Lindsay.
So Chad's
Please,
sobbing
more,
and
more,
crying.
more.
And you're expecting him to recite exactly what her medical history is at the time that he's emotionally distraught about his wife's death, right?
Objection, Your Honor, argumentative, and it's a narrative.
Sustained.
Thank you, Lindsay.
The fact that that Chad Daybell was sobbing, would that be a position in your experience where someone would be able to effectively provide provide information about their medical history and all of the things that may have been going on with their wife?
Through my experience, yes.
Oh, so when someone's emotionally distraught, they're able to recite everything in your experience, right?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
Sustained.
And then we have Garth Daybell, who was described as quiet and reserved. And there really was no effort to talk to him, right? Right?
That I don't know.
Okay. And as someone who's going through shock as described by, Brenda Dye, would you expect that he'd be also able to dictate or explain to you what his mother's health history is?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Overruled.
You can answer it.
Given time, yes, through my experience.
Given time, right? After he gets over the fact that they discovered their mother dead on the floor, after that, you give him enough time, he could probably get around to it, right?
Yes,
She
You know how much
was
time that would be though, right?
murdered.
it varies from individual.
But your experience doesn't tell you that it's instantaneous, right?
Correct.
Right, just like Chad Daybell sobbing, it's not going to be an instantaneous answer, is it?
Objection, Your Honor, argumentative, asked and answered.
Sustained.
Now, on the life insurance policy, the Primerica account, let me know when you're ready. Good, okay. On the life insurance policy, that Primerica account for the 300,000 was established in 2002, right?
April, I believe, yes, 2002.
And on that life insurance policy in 2002, Chad had one for Tammy, right?
Yes,
And Tammy had one for Chad.
yes.
And the beneficiary in the event that Chad passes away would have been who?
Tammy,
And in the event Tammy passes away, the beneficiary would have been Chad, right?
correct.
Okay. And they set that up back in 2002, correct?
Yes,
And there was no action on that, right? No other modifications or changes of any significance, correct?
correct. Mhm.
Okay. And then we go to the map, I'll forget the word, MapQuest, I think it is.
Life map.
Life map, I'm sorry.
No, you're,
Life map, thank you. On Life map, initially, the insurance was set at 50,000.
initially, yes.
Right. And as part of your investigation, were you able to determine that that 50,000 was the base that was available for someone in their first year of employment at the school district?
Yes,
Okay, so Tammy was automatically given the initial 50,000, right?
yes, she was.
And then after the first year, that's only where she would have been eligible for the additional upgrade to the rest of the insurance, correct?
She would be available, or she had that option to do so.
Right. She could have done it or she could not have done it.
Yes,
And that's very cost-effective insurance. Did you look into that?
it is.
Very inexpensive, right?
It is.
Okay. Now, you talked about not being able to locate the Fitbit. Can you tell me who was wearing the Fitbit on the 5 or 6 months that you put those numbers up on the board?
I cannot.
We don't know who was wearing that Fitbit. We don't know if it was Emma, right?
We don't know.
You didn't talk to Emma. You don't know who was wearing it.
I do not know.
You don't know how it was used or how it was. What you're doing is you're explaining to this jury that what you have are basically numbers, right?
I do have numbers.
And what you don't have is you don't have who was using it, how they were using it, or when they were using it, correct?
We know when they were using it.
Okay. Now, I know that you talked to Ed and Charlene, right?
Yes,
So you have some insight a little bit about Tammy and her use of that Fitbit, right?
I do.
Right. And as part of that, you were able to learn that there was a family competition when it came to the Fitbit. Remember that?
I do.
And do you remember when Charlene mentioned on the recording that you taped, and thank you for recording it, that Charlene said that she would go to bed at night and she'd be,
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Sustained.
were you able to gather some information as to the competition between Tammy and the rest of the family regarding the Fitbit?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for hearsay.
Overruled.
Okay, you can answer.
Yes,
And at this point, you were also able to determine, as a result of this competition, that certain activities took place. Certain people would go to bed at night being ahead on their Fitbit device. You learned some information about that?
yes,
Okay. And through your investigation, you learned that that person was Charlene Murray, right?
correct.
Okay. And you also learned as a result that the next morning, surprisingly, Charlene would find that she was now behind on the Fitbit race, right?
Yes,
And um, do you recall which family members were involved in this so-called competition?
so if I remember correctly, there was Ed and Charlene and Tammy.
Okay. And in interviewing the Murrays, Ed and Charlene, this was a little bit of a, Tammy was a competitive person,
That's what I understand, yes.
didn't like to lose. Right?
Yes, correct, she did not.
Okay. But you don't know how that Fitbit was used when you calculated these numbers, correct?
Correct,
And you don't know who was using that Fitbit and running those numbers up, right?
I do not.
And you also don't know the manner in which those Fitbit numbers were accumulated on the particular device. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Judge, I think that's all I have. Thank you.
All
You
right,
just,
that concludes cross-examination. Ms. Blake, if you'd like any redirect, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor.
he thinks he really scored there. I don't think he did. I think he thinks he scored a lot there. I think he Mike dropped himself there a
Detective
little more
Mattingly, you've indicated
than
it's
necessary.
fair to say this was a joint investigation.
Yes,
Which agencies were involved?
we had members of the FBI, Rexburg Police Department, Chandler, Arizona, and Gilbert, Arizona, along with Fremont County.
At some point, was the Attorney General's office also involved?
Yes, they were.
And when it came to, you were asked a lot about interviews with Chad's children just
Yes,
now.
yes,
And I think you'd started to say that different duties were split between different agencies and investigators. Is that fair?
that is fair.
Did you review and discuss the case with other officers?
Yes,
Based on your investigation and your understanding, did any of Chad's kids come forward with information?
Overruled.
Did any of Chad's children voluntarily come forward with information?
not one.
Do you recall attempting to speak with Emma about the results of her mother's autopsy?
Yes,
Would that have been around sometime in February of 2021,
it could have been, I don't know.
sometime after the autopsy results were received?
After the autopsy results, yes.
Was Emma willing to hear about those results?
No,
Was Emma willing to
Mhm.
speak with you?
she was not.
Did
Mhm.
Emma provide you any information about her mother's health at that time?
Nothing.
Pre-impeaching the witness. Yes. I like it, Lindsay Blake.
You were asked about knowing that Tammy didn't like to go to the doctor. Do you know where that information originated?
I believe that came from Chad and his children.
You didn't personally know Tammy. Is
I
that
did
correct?
not.
So the only information you had to go on is what was provided by Chad and or his kids.
Yes,
And you were asked similarly if Tammy would self-treat with homeopathic medications or other things. Do you know where that information originated?
that'd be through Tammy's family, Chad and her children.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't personally know whether or not she used those homeopathic medicines
I
or
don't,
treatments,
I don't.
just what's reported by Chad and his children.
Yes,
And then talked a lot about the Fitbit. On that first slide, we saw that it was registered to Tammy's Gmail. Is that correct?
It was.
And I think you'd also mentioned seeing Tammy wearing that in Facebook photos. Do you recall that?
I do.
Any reason to believe Tammy wasn't using the Fitbit?
I don't.
And Your Honor, I'm going to ask if I can be handed State's Exhibit 152.
I think that was a very good sweeping up of Pryor's mess that he tried to leave behind.
Your Honor, it's previously been admitted. I would ask to be allowed to publish it.
You may.
I wonder if it was already planned for Lindsay Blake to start taking over now at this point, or if they recognized on the team that the last prosecutor was really not meeting the standard of necessity. I hate to be horrible. I hate to be mean to people. Listen to me, cleaning up my words for
Trying to
somebody I
make that
don't
a little
know.
easier to read. You were asked about Chad telling individuals on October 19th that his wife had become sick the night of October 18th. Do you recall defense counsel talking to you about that?
I do.
And then you were asked about the form and where he indicated October 18th of 2019 was when she first started having symptoms.
Yes.
And I know that's difficult to read, but under the medical information, can you read what is above where he wrote October 18th, 2019? And if you can't, I can have the exhibit handed to you.
No, I believe I can make it out. When did health of deceased first become impaired?
So it indicates when did the health first become impaired? Correct?
Correct.
And what was Chad's response again?
October 18th, 2019.
I have no further questions.
All right. I don't know if we got outside the scope of any direct or cross, so I'm going to deny recross. That'll conclude your testimony then. Is this witness be recalled by the state potentially?
The state would reserve the right to recall Detective Mattingly.
Okay, so Detective Mattingly, you remain under subpoena. You may be recalled to testify in this case because of the court's exclusionary order. Please refrain from viewing any of the evidence that is presented going forward between now and the time you take the stand. Don't discuss your testimony or others' testimony between now and then, and I'll ask you about that when you retake the stand.
You wish.
All right, thank you.
No crisscross for the
All
defense.
right, the state can call its next witness.
The state will call Detective Kaika Manu.
solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Hey y'all, is it just me or is Lindsay Blake looking very Camille Vasquez today? She's bringing me some Camille Vasquez vibes, don't y'all think? Yeah, look at that
All
white
right,
suit.
the court would note as the state's case agent, Detective Kai Kamano is not subject to the exclusionary rule, so I won't make my normal inquiry. And Ms. Blake, you can proceed with your direct if you wish.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Kaika Manu, can you please state your name for the record?
Vincent Keone Kaikamanu. Last is Kaaia-Kamanu.
Where are you currently employed?
Madison County Sheriff's Office.
And I've been calling you detective, but what is your current title and or position?
I'm currently the Chief Deputy for Madison County Sheriff's Office.
At the time you were involved in this case, was your title detective?
Yes,
Are you okay if I call you detective today?
yes.
Where were you employed prior to working in Madison County?
Fremont County Sheriff's Office in Idaho,
How long were you employed with them?
about 18 years.
What was your title or position when you left the Fremont County Sheriff's Office?
That's true,
I
She-Wolf.
was a sergeant over detectives and school resource officers.
And what position did you hold prior to that?
I was a regular detective and then a patrol deputy prior to that.
Do you have any specialized training in order to be a law enforcement officer?
I do. I went through the Idaho Post Academy. I currently hold my intermediate, my basic, my advanced, and supervisor certificate. Throughout the years, roughly around 2,500 hours of training, and training is always ongoing.
And in October of 2019, you were working in Fremont County, correct?
Yes,
And what was your title at that time was detective?
yes,
Do you recall if you were working on October 19th of 2019?
I was the on-call detective that night.
Do you recall missing a call that night or
Yes.
in the early morning hours?
Yes.
Why did you miss that call?
Earlier that night, I was called out to assist Idaho Falls PD in an Officer Walls shooting incident.
Do you recall approximately when you were called out to assist in that?
Around 11 o'clock PM on the 18th.
And when did you finish up with your assistance in that matter?
I got home around 4:30 AM.
After missing that call, at some point, did you end up making contact with the deputy?
I did.
And who was the deputy?
Deputy Allie Greenholge.
Did you learn why she had called you?
I did.
What did she call you about?
When I made contact with her, she informed me that she was on an unattended death.
And as the on-call detective, did you always respond out to an unattended death?
No,
When would you respond out?
we would respond if there's anything suspicious after talking with the deputy that's on scene. We'd go over certain things if there's anything out of the ordinary, any forced entry, anything wrong with the body, anything that was suspicious to them and out of the ordinary.
When you returned that call, well, let me back up. And what is an unattended death?
An unattended death is a death that's not under a doctor's care.
Is it typical for law enforcement to respond out to an unattended death?
At that time for Fremont County, not all the time.
And if someone did respond out, was it generally a deputy to start with?
Yes,
And then if necessary, a detective would show up.
yes.
When you returned the call to Deputy Greenalch, did you learn if she'd been in touch with anyone else?
I did. I was informed that she had contacted Detective Mattingly. Mattingly?
When you reached back out to Deputy Greenalch, did you ask her questions?
I did.
What were some of the things you inquired about?
Kind of just what I spoke about. I asked her if there's, again, anything out of the ordinary, any forced entry into the house, anything that was different with the body that she thought was suspicious, things of that nature.
At that time, did she inform you of anything suspicious?
She did not.
Thank you, my dear Stacy.
And did you learn whether Detective Mattingly had made the decision to respond out?
I did.
And what did you learn regarding that?
That he did not respond either.
Do you know if there was anyone else on scene or anyone else that arrived?
Later on scene, I found out that Deputy Coroner and the Coroner of Fremont County was also on scene.
And who is it that determines whether or not an autopsy is performed?
The Fremont County Coroner would be the one.
And the Fremont County Coroner was on scene to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
And is it fair to say that on October 19th of 2019, outside of the initial response, no investigation was opened into Tammy's death?
Yes.
And had you heard the name Tammy Daybell before October 19th of 2019?
No.
Had you heard the name Chad Daybell?
No.
Had you heard the name Lori Vallow,
No.
Alex Cox,
No.
JJ Vallow,
No.
Tylee Ryan?
No.
Thank you again, my
Subsequent
dear.
to October 19th of 2019, did you become involved in an investigation into Tammy Daybell's death?
I did.
Do you recall approximately when you became involved?
I got involved with Tamara Daybell's death approximately around March of 2020.
Do you know when the Fremont County Sheriff's Office became involved?
They received a call for assistance of an Arizona PD, Gilbert PD, October 31st, 2019.
When you became involved in March of 2020, were there other related investigations pending?
Yes,
What were those?
there was the homicide of Charles Vallow in Chandler. There was the search of the two missing kids, JJ and Tylee, and the attempted shooting of Brandon Boudreaux.
Is it fair to say that this became a joint investigation?
Yes,
Did you assist with other aspects in those or some of those other investigations that were related?
yes.
Specifically, which ones did you assist with, or which one?
My main focus was Tammy's, and then I did assist with locating and helping with JJ and Tylee.
As part of your investigation into Tammy's death, did you review an incident that had happened earlier in October of 2019?
Yes,
Do you recall the date of that incident?
that was October 9th, 2019.
Were you personally involved in that investigation on October 9th?
I was not.
So after the fact, you looked into that.
Yes,
As part of that, did you review police reports?
I did.
Did you also review a call into 911?
I did.
And did you review a dispatch call?
Yes,
And do you recall what the nature of the report from October 9th of 2019 was?
it was a suspicious event, and our deputies were dispatched to that.
And did it involve a report of a gun or a paintball gun being pointed at someone?
Yes,
And Your Honor, I believe both of those calls were admitted into evidence yesterday, and I was going to see if I could get both of those exhibits. And Your Honor, those have already been admitted as exhibits. I'm going to ask to publish State's Exhibit 232A.
232A can be published.
Stacy, you're too sweet with these super stickers. Thank you so much. I know. I think they should have leveled that home chopper. But probably Pryor didn't want it to be leveled so that he could take it as, payment.
911 911, where's your emergency?
Yeah, so my mother-in-law, who lives in Columbus, had just gotten home about 10 minutes ago, was unloading her car, and she thinks the man, but she's not on the discussion she didn't see, because they were wearing ski mask, came up to her with the table again, but they started shooting at her. It wasn't loaded, so it didn't, he didn't know they came out of it. But, he kept asking what he was doing, he would respond, and then suddenly, asked us to pull out with her husband, who ran off.
Okay, what's the address? Are you there? Hello? Are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you. What's the address?
It's 199 North, 1900 East, Rexbury, Idaho, 83440. That's my address. She lives in corner. I don't know what her address is.
Okay, I need her address. What's her location?
I think it's 201, I think is her address.
201 North 1900 East?
North, yep.
Does she know which direction he ended up running?
We headed east, back behind their house.
Okay, and did she give you a description of the clothing?
I didn't get one from her. I can follow that.
What is your name?
My name is Joseph Murray.
Okay, is this a good phone number for you?
Yep.
Okay, I am sending a deputy out to your mother's home.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And Your Honor, I would next ask to publish State's Exhibit 232B.
You may.
See, they can talk more freely here in court now than they ever have been able to because Chad's been jailed this whole time and they're
Apologize,
recorded and
I'm having health
monitored.
issues.
So there's more free talking right now between them. I know his meetings with his lawyer are privileged and everything, but there's still probably
October 9,
more risk.
2019, 21 hours, 49 minutes, 20 seconds.
Fremont County Sheriff's Office.
Hi, I need to report something.
Okay, go ahead. What's the address?
Okay, at 202 North, 1900 East, it's the corner with the blinking yellow light on Salem Highway.
Is it a suspicious person?
Yes.
Okay, what was he wearing?
He was all dressed in black and he had a ski mask on.
And he said the blinking light now is where you saw him?
No, he's gone now because I pulled up into our driveway and I was getting stuff out of the back seat of my car and suddenly he was there and he had a paintball gun and he was and he was going to shoot at me. And I kept asking him what he was doing because I could tell it was a paintball thing. And then he just kept doing it. So I yelled for my husband and then he took off running around the back of my house.
Okay, give me just 1 minute. Stay on the line with me.
Okay.
Thank you, She-Wolf.
October 9, 2019, 21 hours, 50 minutes, 28 seconds.
And that was North 1900 East?
Yes.
October 9, 2019, 21 hours, 50 minutes, 43 seconds.
Do you know what direction he was going?
He went behind my house and it's so dark out here, and I just went in the house and got my husband and son, and then they went out and looked, and he was long gone by then. So he was on the north side of my house, is where he went to get away.
Okay.
He didn't say anything, or he just kept like he was holding the gun, like he was, had a rifle and was shooting at me. So, but nothing came out of the gun either, so I don't think it was loaded.
Okay, and what is your name, ma'am?
My name is Tammy Daybell.
Okay, I will pass your information on to my deputies. We actually just had a previous call about this individual, so they're out in the area looking now.
Okay, yeah, I think it was my son-in-law who lives diagonal from us that called you guys already.
Oh,
So we
okay.
just wanted to make sure it got reported. So
Let's see, and what's your son-in-law's name?
Joseph Murray.
Okay, yep, it was him.
Okay.
So, all right, I have a deputy that will be out at your home here shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And I can hand those back to the bailiff, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Tiggy girl. And yeah,
Detective Kaikamanu, do you recall reviewing
we can
those calls?
assume that he will
Yes.
be in prison. I think we
And
can.
particularly,
that.
there's the call from Tammy Daybell into dispatch. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh my God. You guys, I'm
Officially, it
sorry.
was,
That was my bad, my bad, my bad. One moment. I'm so sorry. Oh my God. Oh my God. Ah, ah. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. I'm so sorry. I got to pull up the stream again.
During the investigation on the attempted shooting on Tammy Daybell and then her death, I ended up writing a warrant to seize those weapons and bring them into Fremont County for evidence.
Did you in fact seize those firearms?
I did.
Do you recall photographing one of the firearms?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have what's been marked as State's Exhibit 281A. I have a copy for counsel, a courtesy copy for Your Honor, and the exhibit. I would ask that the witness be shown a copy of the exhibit.
Yeah, I was I was adjusting the screen a little bit more, and it went into backup mode, and then it wouldn't go when I hit the back button, and then again it wouldn't go back to where it was supposed to go. I'm glad it
And
wasn't at a
Detective
crucial
Kaikamanu,
moment.
do you recognize that firearm?
Yes.
Is this in fact one of the firearms that was seized?
Yes, it was.
What about this particular firearm caught your attention, if anything?
The ones that were seized, this one, to me, looking through them resembled or could be looked at as a paintball gun during this incident of the attempted shooting on Tammy.
See, I knew
And
they
Tammy
looked
had
alike.
also used the word rifle.
Yes,
Is this in fact a rifle?
it is.
Did you take this photograph?
I did.
And is it an accurate depiction of the firearm seized?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would move for the admission of State's Exhibit 281A.
No
Any
objection, Judge.
All right, Exhibit 281A is admitted.
And Your Honor, I would ask to be allowed to publish.
You may.
And Your Honor, just to have a clear record of it, the state had begun to publish our copy. I've swapped that out and we have published the official exhibit,
Okay. thank you,
but it
Ms.
was an exact copy of it.
All right, we'll note the actual exhibits now being published for the jurors.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Kaikamanu, I believe there is a laser pointer up there if that's helpful. You indicated that this could resemble a paintball gun. I want to talk to you a little bit about your experience with paintball guns. What experience, if any, do you have with paintball guns?
Growing up, I shot paintball guns all the time. And then getting into my law enforcement career and getting on the SWAT team, we utilize paintball guns and paintball rifles that are set up similar to AR-15s for our training.
And what experience do you have with assault rifles?
Again, before my law enforcement career, I'd shoot them. And then once I got into law enforcement, we were issued a AR-15 and we would train with them. We train with them in SWAT training and we go to the range and shoot.
And you talked about that you were issued an AR-15. What is different between this and an AR-15?
So this rifle that you guys are looking at is actually 6.5 Grindle. The ones that I was issued is an AR-15 that shoots 223s or 5.56. So the caliber is just that different. The lower is all the same. You just need to switch out the upper.
And based on your experience with both assault rifles and paintball guns, what part of this firearm did you believe could appear to be a paintball gun?
So if you look right here where this scope is, it is on the top of the rifle. On a paintball gun, the hopper is sometimes off to the side a little bit, just right about there on the rail. But in my experience, they've made paintball guns so advanced now that it could be on the top or on the side.
And do they make some paintball guns to resemble assault rifles?
Yes.
And what is the hopper on a paintball gun? What's the function of the hopper?
The hopper on the paintball gun is where you put your paintballs inside, and that's what holds them. And when you shoot them, that's what comes out of the barrel.
And we will come back to that exhibit in a bit.
And Judge, could I have again, a reminder of what number that was again? I have a 281A, is that correct?
That is
81,
correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor.
As part of your investigation, we talked earlier that on October 19th of 2019, you had not heard the name Alex Cox. Is that correct?
Correct.
At some point, did you learn the name Alex Cox?
Yes.
And was that through the investigation?
Yes.
Who was Alex Cox in relation to Chad Daybell?
Alex Cox was Chad Daybell's brother-in-law.
And before Chad and Lori were married, what was the connection between Chad and Alex?
Before they were married, I couldn't tell you.
So Lori Vallow was the connection between the two?
Lori Vallow.
And ultimately they became brother-in-laws?
Yes.
As part of the investigation, do you recall looking at an account, some searches done on a Homer J. Maximus account?
Yes.
Who was that account associated with?
Alex Cox.
And and you did review some of the data in relation to some Homer J. Maximus searches, correct?
Yes, I reviewed some of it.
Did you review the whole thing?
I did not.
Did you focus on a specific time frame?
Yes.
And what time frame did you focus on?
Roughly around the time of the shooting or the attempted shooting, excuse me, on October 8th, 2019, and a few days after that.
Is it fair to say that there were quite a few searches on this account?
Yes.
And were there other searches on the days that you reviewed?
Yes.
In preparation for your testimony today, did you create an exhibit?
Yes.
Do you believe that the exhibit would assist in your testimony today?
Yes.
Do you believe it would aid the jurors in understanding?
I do.
Your Honor, I have what's been marked as States Exhibit 107B. Similar to others, it is on a jump drive, but I do have courtesy copies of the slides printed for counsel, the court, and Your Honor. And I would ask that the witness be shown the printed out 107B.
So far, Camille is doing great, I think. She's so reliable and quick on her feet and seems unflappable. And she gave the closing arguments in Lori's case, and it was very passionate.
And if you could look through those slides, Detective. Do those appear to be an accurate depiction of the PowerPoint created?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would move for the admission of States Exhibit 107B.
Any objection?
Judge, for demonstrative purposes, there won't be an objection.
All right.
And Your Honor, this is a summary exhibit.
Okay, as a summary exhibit, Exhibit 107B has been admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask permission to publish.
You may publish.
So Chopper, it's rumored that before he met Lori, Chad did try to convince Tammy to do plural marriage, and she refused.
And Your
So
Honor, I have the HDMI cable plugged in, but this is not my screen showing.
Okay, we will see.
I agree, Stacy. Probably in his younger years, Chad was like a 6, 7 at best, and Tammy was like a 9, an 8 or a 9. And I don't mean that objectively. I mean, I'm just trying to outrank her in relation to Chad, not by global beauty standards. When you rank her next to Chad, she's above him, Tammy, in looks. Yeah, that's the rumor, Chopper, that Chad had had affairs before Lori. And that he did try to do the plural marriage thing, which is,
And Your Honor, I'm just looking at the time. I will indicate it's still not showing my screen.
Yeah.
And so where it is 3:17, I don't know if the court would like to consider convening early today, and I will work with IT to make sure that I have it ready for tomorrow.
I do
Judge, there
think,
won't be any objection to that. I
Okay.
understand.
thank you. It does make sense. We've got some kind of a tech gremlin going around this afternoon. We'll try
Tech
to sort that
gremlin.
out for tomorrow. Council, and I know you had it just working, so we'll work with tech. So with that, we are going to conclude evidence for the day. Council, as we do that, and for the jurors, I want to indicate some information on our schedule going forward. Tomorrow, well, I'm going to hear some motions outside the presence of the jurors this afternoon. Once we come back on the record after the jurors have been excused, I'm inclined, well, I believe I'll be able to make rulings tomorrow morning on those motions. That may take a little bit of time, so my proposal would be to start evidence tomorrow morning at 9 with the jurors instead of 8:30. Is the state okay with that?
That's fine with the state, Your Honor.
No objection, Judge.
Okay.
no
In
objection here
addition,
either,
ladies and
Judge.
gentlemen of the jury, we've got some court staffing issues leading us to take one of our days off next week. And since we know that already, in order for you to make any plans you might on a day off, I'll advise you that we are not going to be conducting court on Tuesday, which I believe is April 30th. That will be a day without trial next week. Otherwise, our schedule will remain as it's been going forward. So that'll be the schedule upcoming in the next several trial days. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, then before we conclude for the day again, please make sure to follow the court's continuing admonition to not investigate the case, watch media or news coverage of the case. Please don't discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else until you return tomorrow. Thank you for following that admonishment each day. And again, I'll leave it to the marshals who arrange for your arrival times to modify that if it needs to be for the morning, where the jurors won't need to be here for evidence until 9 o'clock. So thanks everyone in the courtroom also for following the courtroom conduct order. And with that, we will go ahead and conclude for today.
All rise, please.
I personally hope she testifies, Heather Daybell testifies, or, not Heather Daybell. Sorry, my bad. Heather, the sister of Tammy. Now, there's also a brother of Chad who came out and did an interview against him. Sorry, let me get my layout
Thank you.
worked out
Please be
here.
seated. Council, in terms of going back on the record for the motions, let me just first clarify
we
the
got
two motions in
motions.
limine will go on the record, yeah. Thank you. The motions in limine are still at issue and to be argued. Is that correct? Sorry, Ms. Blake.
So that was my fault, but I did just realize we still have the witness on the stand. Would the court like to excuse him from the stand?
Yeah, well, I'll be very quick here and then
Okay.
we'll all just break for the day.
Yes,
But
I believe we're ready to move forward on those motions in limine, and Mr. Wixom will be addressing them.
Okay, I am going to take a quick break then between now and the time we argue the motions, council. And then if those in the courtroom want to watch the motions, we've determined to be public motions. I'm going to suggest we start those in about 20 minutes at about 20 till 4 to argue those motions, as well as the issue the court raised about designating any victims in the case. So that'll be our schedule. We'll take a 20-minute recess here, come back on for those motions. Thank you.
All right.
Oh, Heather, it is Heather Daybell then. Heather. Okay, thank you for that correction, Great Dane Mom. I get the distant family members, I get their names mixed up. I know most of the names of the closer family members, but not all of the other outer rings. So just to clarify, there will be court tomorrow, but it's starting a half hour later than usual. So I don't think that'll make a lot of difference to y'all in the chat, because a lot of people really don't start showing up till like an hour into the trial. And yeah, I saw Heather speaking in the interview as well. And then on Tuesday, next Tuesday, the 30th, there is no court at all. So I wanted to, in honor of the new members and wonderful super chats that came through, I want to re-show you our funny court clip from earlier. And if you weren't here earlier, listen to this. Listen to what this witness says on the stand when he's asked about marijuana.
Use any other drug?
Wait. Okay, here we go.
Drugs that day?
Yeah, I smoked some weed.
By weed, you mean marijuana?
Yes, please. Or, yes.
And then watch him shake his head at himself and put his hand over his mouth.
As you were floating down the river,
Yeah, I smoked some weed.
by weed, you mean marijuana?
Yes, please. Or, yes.
He's oh man, I felt so bad for that kid when he was testifying, but that was that was such a cute moment, because I have a son his age, right? I have two kids his age, right around his age, and I could totally picture one of them doing that. Oh, and also, since we hear that there was a gender reveal in the Colby Ryan family, let's watch that, because I pulled that up as well and I want to watch it. I haven't watched it yet. Let's watch this. So this is Corey's son, Colby Ryan.
They're both on.
The other day.
Oh, here we go. Oh my gosh. Come stand right here. I'm in here testing for YouTube. I'm in here trying to get the setup, and they want to send us our gender for our baby right here, right now. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
View your results.
They look great.
Yes, include the sex. My heart is pounding out of my chest.
We're gonna find out what gender the baby is right now. There's so much anticipation. What is she doing? Okay, click it. Let's start.
Don't say the gender out loud because I want to surprise them.
She said, "Don't say the gender out loud." She's prepared because I want to surprise.
Here we go.
Come on.
She's gonna type it right now. Yes. That's how you feel.
Okay.
You're so cute. Oh, so I'm thinking girl because it was laughing.
Oh my gosh, are you serious? Oh my gosh. That is not what I expected. Oh my gosh, are you serious? Oh my gosh.
Aww.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, baby.
I knew it.
Oh my
I knew
gosh.
it.
I haven't said yet.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they have 2 girls, Sparkles. They're telling us now.
We know. Mommy and Daddy.
We know what baby.
We know what the baby's gonna be.
Oh, she said we knew it was
Hello.
going to be a boy. I didn't hear
I'm
that.
wearing a big news shirt. You see that? It's got breaking news all over it. Because this is breaking news. The breaking news is, first of all, hi. Missed you guys. So I had a video plan for today. My plan was very simple. I was just going to talk to you guys and bring back this idea of this rebranding of the channel while I was loud. Rebranding of the channel because I'm so excited about what I've always wanted is to have a live channel where you can basically open up the window to anything. Now, I was planning that video, I was planning to talk to you guys, planning on doing the video, and all of a sudden, we find out that we are having a baby boy.
Oh.
And it completely deterred the video that I had to make. It completely just changed the element of the day. And I'm still in shock. My honest raw reaction is this whole time I thought we were going to have a girl. And now here we are and we're having a baby boy. And I'm in shock. I'm in shock. I don't even know what to say. Like,
y'all, I was trying to pause on a place where he was smiling because I honestly have tears in my eyes.
I have always wanted a boy. I've always loved our girls.
This does literally put tears in my eyes. This family has been through so fucking much. And look at me, I'm crazy. I don't know these people. I don't know them. I've never met them. But they were forced into the public spotlight because of his crazy, homicidal, murderous mother, right? And that being shoved into the spotlight at such a tender time of their lives, such a traumatic time of their lives, it really messed with this kid. This kid has been messed with. And the last time we really heard about Colby Ryan was he and his wife had gotten into a dispute and they had broken up. And it was really sad to see. And he looked a lot different. I'm telling you, in that court footage, he looked rough. Okay. And this was like, I want to say a year and a half, 2 years ago. So this just goes to show you, you can go through the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst, and you can feel the effects of going through the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst, and you can survive. And you can still have days of happiness, even though that grief might be still part of you. That grief will never leave. It'll always be an undercurrent in his life, right? But he can still be happy and he can still thrive. And there may be points, grief is not linear. So there may be points where things are rough again, but they've shown themselves that they can get out of that, right? There is always a brighter tomorrow. Speaking of which, as my members know, I've been posting in members only community posts about doing a mental health stream on Checkmate Humanity. And this is open to anybody who's listening right now. I just wanted to give my members the first chance to raise their hands. So this is what I'm currently planning to do. Okay. I'm currently planning to hold this mental health stream on Sunday at 4 p.m. This might change, 4 p.m. my time. This might change. I might go earlier, whatever. And I want to give people positive firsthand information from my channel about, what people should know about mental health, the things I wished I would have known way back then, what made me seek, help, and what I wish I knew. And I want to invite people to come up on my panel and to answer those same questions of me. And I'm sorry, and answer the same questions that I ask, to share with our audience. So if you're available to come to that stream, I will, about 2 or 3 different members have said, yeah, I might come up if I can, or yeah, I would do that if I'm there. I'm interested in that. So members get the first dibs, but what I'm going to do is, a lot of people have a hard time committing ahead of time for these things. So, I figure I'll just get the juices flowing, share my experience, and then start inviting people to come up on the panel, and members get first priority. Okay. But other people can come up too, but I'm not going to have a lot of people on my panel at once. And even on that channel, I have, policies about how we treat each other and things like that. But I just think it's an important topic, especially in this digital age, in the internet age, when we have this algorithm fucking with our brains and we don't even know it. So be on the lookout for that. And I really look forward to being here with more with you in the days ahead. I will be here tomorrow, 9:00 Mountain Time, for day 11 of testimony. I'm going to show a couple more funny court clips because you guys like them, and you're awesome. So one person said something about the cat one. I love that cat one. Where is it? I got it right here somewhere. Is that it? No, that's not it. Oh, shoot. Darn it. It's not here for some reason. Oh, no, there it is. Woo!
Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take
we're
a look.
trying to, can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I'm not a cat, Your Honor. I am not a cat.
Okay, that's okay. Okay, right? Okay, right? Okay, right? Okay.
Right? All right. More antics tomorrow. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And until I see you tomorrow, be well and be happy and be kind. Love y'all. Bye.